Shabbat Shalom. I just want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. And I'm Barbara, and I'm serving as your host today. And Brother Pete is here as your co-host.
Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us and joining us in this exciting study.
Well, our title today is Can Man Change Time? And is our clock broken? Also, you're going to be hearing about a few new calendars, and one of them is called New Earth Calendar. Well, a broken clock is right twice a day. I'm sure you've all heard that saying before. The thing about a broken clock is that you can always tell exactly when they stop ticking. But with calendars, you can't even tell they're broken. Can man change time? Yes, man has changed time. The Roman Republic calendar was established in 738 BC, Julius Caesar in 46 BC, Constantine 321 AD, and Pope Gregory XIII in 1582 AD. And the clock stopped for 10 days. And most of you have heard about this. I'm just touching on it today. The most surreal part of implementing the new Gregorian calendar came in October 1582, when 10 days were dropped from the calendar to bring the vernal equinox from March 11 back to March 21. And that's Pope Gregory changing the time and the calendar. And we did a whole YouTube about this, going in depth about all the calendar changes. And the name of that YouTube is Continuous Weekly Cycle Proven False. And I'll leave that link below for you. Future calendar changes. That's what we're talking about today. And there are new world calendar proposals. And yes, man is still changing the calendar. These are some of the proposals. The world calendar has been proposed and studied since 1930. Earth calendar, 2012. They thought that it would start then. And then there's the Hank Henry calendar, 2017. These were the dates and times they were hoping to start. And here, this is about the world calendar.
1930s. Elizabeth Arkellis founded the World Calendar Association in 1930 with the goal of worldwide adoption of the world calendar. It functioned for most of the next 25 years as the World Calendar Association Incorporated throughout the 30s. Support for the concept grew. In the League of Nations, the precursor of the United Nations, Arkellis started the Journal of Calendar Reform in 1931 and published it for 25 years and wrote 5 books on the calendar concept that you can find in the Wikipedia article linked below. We see in the chart here features. The world calendar is a 12-month perennial calendar with equal quarters. Each quarter begins on a Sunday and ends on a Saturday. The quarters are equal. Each has exactly 91 days, 13 weeks, or 3 months. The 3 months in each quarter have 31, 30, and 30 days, respectively. Each quarter begins with the 31-day months of January, April, July, or October. The world calendar also has the following 2 additional days to maintain the same New Year's days as a Gregorian calendar. The last day of the year following September 30th, following Saturday, December 30th, is the additional day is dated W and named World's Day, a year-end world holiday, and it's followed by Sunday, January 1st, in the new year. This day is similarly added to the end of the second quarter in leap years. It is also dated W and named Leap Year Day. It's followed by Sunday, the 1st of July, within the same year.
Okay, Hank Henry calendar, it was proposed. Some reformers have suggested we change the calendar to correct these blemishes. There are some in that world calendar. And at Johns Hopkins University, Steve Hank and Richard Henry have proposed the Hank Henry permanent calendar, which would have 364 days every year, plus a leap week tacked on every 5 or 6 years to adjust for the error. The advantage here, they say, is that the calendar would be the same every year. October 4 would always fall on a Wednesday, for instance, and no need for confusing updates to calendars.
The Hank Henry permanent calendar. What happens to your birthday? If, for example, your birthday is March 7th, it always falls on Wednesday, forevermore. Christmas Day would always fall on a Sunday, and New Year's Day would always fall on a Sunday also. Mini-month. Every 5 or 6 years, there is a 1-week-long mini-month called XDR for extra. At the end of December, XDR or extra week brings the calendar into sync with the seasonal change as the Earth circles the sun. Universal time. It is proposed that universal time on a 24-hour scale be used everywhere on Earth and forevermore. Daylight savings time would disappear.
And just like the present Gregorian calendar, the HH calendar fully respects the 4th commandment of the Bible. And so they'll give them a Sabbath on that calendar. Well, the religious opponents of calendar reform. Religious opponents of calendar reform are few: Sabbatarian sects like the Seventh-day Adventists and Jews. They practice 6 days of labor and do all that they have to do during the 6 days, but the 7th day they worship and rest. If one extra day alone were introduced into their year, they would eventually be observing the Sabbath on weekdays while the rest of the world worked.
The main opponents of the world calendar in the 20th century were leaders of religious organizations, leaders of religions that worship according to the seventh day cycle. For Jews, Christians, and Muslims, particular days of worship are ancient and fundamental elements of their faith. Jews observe Saturday as Shabbat on the basis of the Decalogue, that is the 10 Commandments, injunction to, quote, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That's Exodus 20 and 8. Most Christians worship on Sunday, the Lord's Day, on which they believe Christ rose from the dead. Muslims perform the Jama'ah prayer in mosques on Fridays, the day they believe Adam was created. Likewise, Seventh-day Adventists are required to worship every Saturday. Adherents of these religions object that intercalary days are counted outside the usual 7-day week and disrupt the traditional weekly cycle. A week with a World's Day would be 8 days long. Some adherents of these religions insist they would have to continue observing their holidays every 7th day, causing the worship days to drift by 1 day each year, 2 on a leap year, relative to the world calendar week. The day of rest would then no longer coincide with the weekend. These concerns played a role in the United States government's decision at the United Nations in 1955 not to recommend further study. Supporters of the world calendar do not deny that their system is at odds with the traditions of a significant portion of the world's population, but argue that world days and leap year days can be treated as double holidays by those who wish to maintain the 7-day week sequence.
So they are still going for a world calendar, and one of the new names is New Earth Calendar, and that is a perpetual calendar. The New Earth Calendar was proposed to take place in 2012. Well, this is the year 2022 right now, so we can expect some of these calendars to come about in our lifetime. The New Earth Calendar, we'll describe some of it today. Each month begins on a Monday and ends on a Sunday. So that would make Sunday the 7th day of the week, wouldn't it? Then the New Earth Calendar has leap, week, rule, and New Year's. Years whose number is divisible by 5 have a leap week, except that years divisible by 40 have a leap week only if they were divisible by 400 as well. Years are scheduled so that the new year would coincide with the Gregorian New Year or any Gregorian year beginning Monday on in the 21st century.
Features and benefits. The calendar is perpetual. It never changes from year to year. Each month and each week begins on a Monday and ends on a Sunday. Because a date in one year will occur on the same weekday in all years to come, business, government, educational institutions, and other similar organizations would be able to schedule once and rely on the same dates in future years. Weekdays are tied to specific days of the month, every year. 4 equal business quarters of 41 days or 13 weeks exist in the system. And it does not ignore off-calendar days as other proposals do. All days are accounted for in leap years.
So the business quarters would be 91 days and 13 weeks. Well, the Earth calendar has 4, like I just said, 4 equal business quarters of 91 days. And you'll see here the 31st of June would be they would add a 31st day, June, and that would be outside of the week cycle. And here in December, in the 4th quarter, they would add December 31 would be World Peace Day. And that is, again, outside of the week cycle.
Earth calendar. The Earth calendar, or modified Gregorian calendar, is a proposed reform of the Gregorian calendar developed and proposed by Brij Bhushan Jha, a fellow of the Meteorological Society of India. The months are almost the same, except that the 31st of July moves to the 29th of February. The 31st of December becomes a global holiday called World Peace Day, as in the world calendar, outside the weekly cycle, and Leap Day is the 31st of June, also outside the week cycle, which makes the calendar perpetual. Each year begins on a Monday and ends on a Sunday. Leap week, the leap rule. June has an extra day outside the week cycle at the end of every 4 years, except in the last of a cycle 128 years long. Therefore, there are 31 leap days per cycle, or 365 plus 31 divided by 128 is 365.24 days per mean year. And a cycle contains 365 times 128 plus 31, which is 46,750 days. 728-year cycles, that is 896 years, contain exactly 11,082 lunations. This makes a mean lunation of about 29.51 days long. Alternately, a leap week may be used instead of leap day and world peace day. Proposed leap week rules all yield 365.24 days per mean year.
So this is just going to show a few of the quarters on this new Earth calendar. The first quarter here with January, February, March, and their weeks. And then the second quarter, April, May, and June. And then there is that leap day at the end of June there. Then the third quarter here. And the fourth, and I'll leave this link below. You can look this all up for yourself. Here's that World Day at the end of December. So Earth calendar is a perpetual calendar. Features and benefits. The calendar has 52 weeks, 364 days, 4 equal quarters, which are 91 days or 13 weeks, if off weekdays are not counted. And there are no Friday the 13th. And it is a perpetual calendar, which means the months and weekdays never change. And here at the end of June is an added day, leap day, and the end of December, a world peace day. So this is really going to affect everyone that wants to have a continuous weekly cycle since creation. Perpetual, the meaning of it, never ending or changing, and occurring repeatedly, so frequent as to seem endless and uninterrupted.
The Sabbath is a perpetual covenant. That's Exodus 31:16. Therefore, you shall keep, the children of Israel, the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout all your generations, for a perpetual, that is, olam, or forever, covenant. It is a sign, a mark between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days, Yahweh, the heavens and made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed.
So the Sabbath is a perpetual covenant, a perpetual calendar too. And here we have the Creator's calendar is a perpetual calendar also. The months and weekdays never change. The calendar always starts with day 1, new moon day, and then you have 6 working days and a Sabbath. 6 working days and a Sabbath. It never changes. So Ezekiel 20:12-19 through 20.
Moreover, I also gave them the Sabbaths of my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yahweh who sanctifies them. I am Yahweh your Elohim, walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them. And hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, and that you may know that I am Yahweh your Elohim.
So the Sabbath is a sign between Yah and his people, as it just says in Exodus 20. And remember, Yah says, I change not. That's in Malachi 3:6. He has never changed his Sabbath or his calendar. Psalms 89:37 says, it will be established forever, like the moon, the faithful witness in the sky. So to access more information about the calendar in the heavens that is perpetual, that never changes, please go to our website, lunarsabbathday.com.
I might add here, Barb, that if we look back in history, of course, we see that the calendar was initially established in the heavens, and it was lunar-based. But man, and particularly in his desire to have a business calendar, because it is difficult to calculate all the issues with businesses, how do you calculate interest on a lunar calendar and so forth, that people are driven to a man-made calendar. And that probably is the origin. And now, as we see these changes that are proposed yet again, notice that they're oriented toward businesses and institutions. It's for convenience, not for exactness to the truth of nature, or much less nature's Elohim.
Okay, thank you. And so thank you, everyone, for being here today. And we just appreciate each one of you very much.